Greeting, friends. Welcome back to the Film Alchemist podcast. Welcome back to the October Mega Marathon. I am so excited for today's episode, guys. I'm excited for all 31 episodes. But before we start today, a brief introduction, a little bit of business to get out of the way. Everyone, please, God, please hear us, God. Go to patreon.com/filmalchemistpod. The best way to support the show. The only way to get all 31 episodes this month, right? You want to hear about Bordello of Blood. You want to hear about Kill List, right? You want to hear a feature-length commentary on House Who, don't you? Don't you? Not only do you get delicious treats for going over there and supporting the show, but it is the best and finest way to show love to the show, right? It's the best way to help us grow, build a community. We have great friends over there that we would like for you to be a part of. So especially this month, guys, with all the work that goes into the October Mega Marathon, if you could show some support over at patreon.com/filmalchemistpod, it would mean the world to us, I assure you. Thank you in advance for those of you who do. Thank you for those who already support over there. You know we love you. You can find our YouTube channel, Film Alchemist. You can find us on all the socials you're on. Those are great ways to find shorter form content. Those are great ways to share content with people, right? Help us grow in a grassroots nature, right? There's so much stuff out there. If you have a movie-loving friend, send them a direct message that lets them know we out here, man. That helps out a ton as well. We thank you for that. Make sure you're leaving 5-star ratings and reviews. You can email the show, filmalchemistpod@gmail.com. Those are also nice ways to help us keep building the momentum, right? All this stuff, defeat the algorithm, things you got to do now if you have a pod. Make sure you go check out my work over on Looper with my friends at Looper. You can see me from the belly button up chatting about movies. Been a really fun new addition this year, so hopefully you're enjoying those. Make sure you go to misfitparade.com. That's right, we got the .com now. We're big time. It's hard to get a website, I've heard. Don't Google that. I'm sure it's really hard to get a website, and I don't want you wasting your time. We did it, though. We're official. We have some films in the festival circuit. Some of them will be coming online soon. We'd like you to see. Some of them, like Mr. Cream Jeans Hidey Hole, our first anthology horror film, right? We filmed the first segment. We are continuing that journey. We would love to have you guys with us as we complete this journey. Follow along with us as we make our first feature film. Again, that's misfitparade.com. That's a really cool thing. That's a segue I get to do this episode that I love. So a couple years ago, I invited a young lady on, Gory Cory, right? Love, adore this person, right? But I had seen some film writing. They were more of a personality on my Twitter feed, right? So I invited him to join. Absolutely smitten, right? Just such a wonderful talk. Great vibes. Loved my conversations. So lucky every year that Gory keeps coming back. Gory Cory? Gory? That's her online name. You guys can find her real name on your own. And in the show notes below. So every year I'm ecstatic that she decides to come back to the show, chat movies with me. Wonderful person, right? The cool thing is when I met Gory Cory, she was a young film student, right? She was on her way. She was beginning to study things. It really took me back to when I was a film student, man. And I loved that kind of bridging the now very long age gap, right? I'm getting older and older constantly. This year is fucking rad, though. Gory Cory and her friends made a horror anthology film, right? She got to work on and direct a segment in the horror film now called Welcome Week that you can find out wherever you get VOD. You can find this movie online, rent it, support the show, support Gory Cory as I did, right? You will not be disappointed. So go check that out. Hopefully, maybe her and some of her friends want to come on and talk about it on the show here. The invitation's open, but watching Gory Cory go from, young film student with aspirations, right, to now, moving through the world, making a fucking movie, man. It's such a fun thing to watch people that you love and cherish grow and achieve their goals and dreams and just get better and better. It melts my heart, man. I'm a little emotional even talking about it. I'm really proud of what they've accomplished. I wish them nothing but the best. And I'm so thankful that this show and this marathon, if nothing else, gets to bring people like that into my life and hopefully into your life. So all the best. Thank you for making the time. Please go check out Welcome Week, guys. We got to support each other out here. You know what I mean? And without further ado, our really, really fun talk on one of my favorite movies of the year, Strange Darling, with Gory Cory. All right, everybody, welcome back, our friend, returning champion, and now professional filmmaker, Gory Cory. Welcome back to the pod.
Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, absolutely. We look forward to it every year. I'm waiting for the year where you're just gone. You're just off doing cool stuff.
No,
And we'll be
never.
like, remember when?
I'll
But
always come back.
well,
Always come
we will
back.
always have a spot for you. Would you be so kind? Well, first you should probably tell everyone what you've been working on. It's very exciting. And then would you like to introduce the movie you picked and why?
Yes. So recently I'm a filmmaker. I'm in film school right now. It's my last year and I just released my first feature film. It's an anthology series that I made with the screenagers who did Satan's Servant before
Nice.
this and Noah Levine. And basically we all got together. We are all college film students, and we got our friends who were also film students at different colleges across the country to make shorts that all go into this anthology. And it was so much fun, and it's been like a 3 year process, but it just
Oh,
released, and it's finally on VOD, and it's available pretty much everywhere. So
amazing.
exciting.
What is it called again?
It's called Welcome Week.
Welcome Week. Yeah, I have been watching vicariously and loving your journey.
Thank you. Thank
If
you.
you guys want a place to talk about it, we are available. Just let me know. We could do a show
Thank you.
about
That
it.
would be awesome.
Yeah,
Definitely.
for sure. The fans will love that. Would you like to pick? You picked one of my favorite movies of the year,
Yes,
a new one, soon to be a classic. I'm guessing a cult classic. Would you like to
definitely.
introduce the movie?
Yes, the movie is Strange Darling.
Yeah.
I just was like blown away in the theater. It's so
Oh.
good. And it totally caught me off guard. Not that I
Mhm.
didn't think it was going to be good because it's one of the greatest casts ever, but
Yeah.
it's even
I
better.
am a huge Kyle Gallner fan since
Me
Smallville. I was
too.
one of those like Smallville guys, and he was the
Yes, I
Flash on
just started
Smallville.
watching Smallville.
Yeah, that was like
Literally
my
just
my
for
show. I could
him.
not like stop watching, even as it started
Yes.
hurting me. So I love this cast.
Yes. I'm a
This
big
was
Willa
just a
Fitzgerald fan.
oh my god, it has been such a year of just unreal performances. Like female horror
Yes.
performances this year have been
Yes.
so fucking off the charts good.
Especially
It
like from
this
from
is one of
people
them.
who I like we knew that they would do a good job, but like they
Mhm.
just did not have the acclaim that they should have. Like
Well, yeah, or like we
Willa
hadn't seen
Fitzgerald
them
back
all the
in
way in a
horror.
horror movie yet. You've got
Yes.
Hunter Schafer and Cuckoo.
Oh, so
The Substance, obviously, like Demi
yes.
Moore just coming out of nowhere off the top.
Incredible.
Like it has been such a good year. The First Omen, like everyone in the First
Yes.
Omen fucking blew my socks off.
So
Um,
good.
but I think Willa Fitzgerald might have taken the cake. Like this might be my favorite of the gang. Um,
So
and
good.
it's such a bizarre and dynamic movie.
Hmm.
And I guess I'll start here. I don't know about you. I was a little worried when they did a story in 6 chapters. I just went, oh, what
Yes.
in the fucking Lars von Trier is this?
I
And I was
when
a
I
little
saw that
worried. And then
that
they
first
didn't start
shot.
at chapter 1. And I was like, no, no,
Yes.
no. I have to say, if you're
No, it's
going to
good.
do an out of sequence movie like this, it had better be this fucking good. Like the
Yes.
decisions of where they dropped things, despite the lack of chronological cohesion, works perfectly in this 3 act structure in a way that really fucking shocked me. What did you make of this?
Oh my God, I loved it. I will admit when I saw that first shot that said like shot on 35 millimeter, I was like, oh God. Like
Yeah, there was
I
kind
was
of a pretension about it. You're like, oh no.
but I honestly also think that that was like the point in a way.
Yes.
I feel like there's a lot of things at this movie that hint to like film bro culture and like I think the Manic Pixie Dream Girl is a really interesting character to look at when we look at Willa Fitzgerald's character in this. But to go back to the way that the story is actually structured, it's perfect. It's exactly how you should be telling this story.
Yeah.
And like, I don't know, not to bring it back to film school, but this is exactly one of the things we learn in film school is like you should write your script in its chronological order and then cut it up and put things where they should. Like, you should write your script in its chronological order and then cut it up and put things where they should. Like, you should write your script in its chronological order and then cut it up and put things where they should. Like, you should write your script in its chronological order and then cut it up and put things where they should. Like, where it will make it the most confusing.
Yeah.
And I think they just do such a successful job, and it's so effective in this. It's perfect.
Yeah, I think there's an element of that, right? It gets to this like invisible hand theory of cinema, right? That the
Mhm.
more you shift and do things like this movie's constantly doing, you run the risk of audiences losing it, right? Like
Yeah,
they back
definitely.
out and they start watching it from such a distance they're not
Mhm.
invested, right? And I think there is something about like I'm a big never show me the last scene of your movie first guy. Like
Yes.
that is a film technique I despise.
Mhm.
There are examples of it working. And this is not showing the ending first, but it does kind of drop us right in on essentially the start of Act Two, right?
Mhm.
Um, and it just works. And it actually, in a bizarre way, deepens the mystery. I feel like a lot of people that try this out of order thing are hoping that their mystery is interesting enough to handle that.
Yeah.
Most of them I feel like are wrong.
Mhm.
This one absolutely was right. Like it really, because not only is it deepening the mystery of what's happening, this whole movie is kind of a mind trap designed to just prey upon our expectations.
Yes, exactly. Like it's literally a narrative technique, the way that they structure the story. Like
Mm-hmm.
things are not as they seem.
Yeah. And it's because you see it right away. And this is a weird thing. I don't know if you found this because a lot of people I watched it with, my wife this morning, she was buying it hook, line, and sinker. She was screaming at the TV. She's like, what a bastard. What a, piece of shit. This poor girl. And having already seen it, it is stunning how effective that is, right?
Yeah.
It shows us all of these kind of tropes, right?
Mhm.
There's a guy doing cocaine. He's driving a giant
Yes.
truck. He's got the gun and the flannel, right? She's in a tiny little Ford Pinto and she's in some kind of like scrubs, she's fleeing.
Yes.
And even this, there's a line in the opening that comes back later and it's this, can you please help me? And
Mhm.
we are so specifically designed by watching this kind of movie over and over again. We've already written the whole
This,
narrative. We already know
yeah.
everything that's happening. We don't need to go back. We know. And when you do, it's this brilliant weaponization of our kind of thinking we're too smart for the movie.
Yes. That's why when I first watched it, I was sort of like, I knew that something was off. I just didn't know what because I was like, there's no way that they're just gonna give us another one of like something has to be different about this story. It can't just
Yeah.
be this classic structure.
Yeah. I'll tell you. So my friends think I'm lying, but I told them when we got out of the theater, I was like, I called it
Yeah.
right on the first shot of her running.
Hmm.
And they're like, how the fuck
Really?
could you call it that early? And I said there were two things that hinted to me. I was like, there's no fucking chance that this is going to be as simple as they're making it, right?
Yeah.
One, she asked him, are you a serial killer? And then we cut to him choking, and that's it, right? So,
Mhm.
and this is the other thing I noticed. It's shot in black and white. It's taking away the color and mystery of the movie, right? Which didn't feel like the movie we were walking into. So it's saying,
Yeah.
here's a black and white answer. Are you a serial killer? Yes. And then we cut to her running. And what gave it away for me was when his character was credited as the demon.
Yes.
And I was like, there's no fucking chance this guy did it. I was like, there is no fucking
Yes.
chance that he did it. So I was like, who did? And I'm not saying I knew exactly what the twist was. I didn't know about the electric
Yeah.
lady and all. We knew there was a serial killer.
Mhm.
My money probably would have been on the hippies, right? But
Yeah.
the movie even cheats. Like there's one cheat in the movie, right? Which is where he's doing the here, kitty, kitty. Like he's kind of liking it. I do think that's a cheat. But
Well,
when
he's
you go
definitely
back and
not.
rewatch it, it's right there the whole time.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like it's one of those things where he is not a good guy. You know what I mean? Like, even as our sort of protagonist, we don't even necessarily need to be rooting for him because it's not like he's like this perfectly innocent, like, character. He's not like a final girl in the way that like
Mhm.
most final girls are. You
Yeah.
know, he's a cop for one thing. He definitely has his infidelity. Like, he is not a perfect character. And I think that's sort of what makes this work is because it's like they are both sort of predators in a way.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And it's one of those, as we get this kind of bombastic opening, right? The running, the
Hmm.
vodka on the ear. She goes in this house, and next thing you know, she's hiding, and the old man is dead on the floor. There's these really scary moments, right? And he shoots her,
Yeah.
and we think we know everything. When you cut to that car, it's kind of incredible that they still maintain tension in that scene.
Yeah.
right? They're back and forth. And again, I think it gets to your point. I think you said it really well, which is there's just something in your gut that you know that this is not right. You
Hmm.
know what you're watching is not reliable. That both of these people, we kind of see like she's wearing a wig. He's telling us he cheats on
Yes.
his wife. They're both liars, right? Like we
Hmm.
inherently know that something is off with both of them. And again, we think we know, but your body physically won't let go of it.
Yeah. I feel like it's because we're so used to these stereotypes and these gender
Mm.
stereotypes that it's so hard not to make those assumptions
Yeah.
that when it's almost so clear, we still make that assumption. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, honestly, I mean, even into the scene, because there's a moment where it's like, oh, are we gonna have sex? No, okay. She's kind of, and my wife, like, even this is how I kind of watched it today. Was I was charting my wife's reaction. She's like, she's not the greatest person, and I was like, well, yeah, whatever. But she still feels bad for her because she knows what's coming. And when he grabs her and he starts fucking chaining her up, right, and
Yeah.
he smacks her. Again, it's like, and see, that doesn't feel like a cheat to me, like the "here kitty kitty" line. That is something, like, even when we cut back to the car and she's like, consent could not be clearer. I want you to do this. That scene juxtaposed immediately with him smacking her and saying, I'm going to fucking slit you from lips to lips.
Yeah.
We still are like, it's still him, right? It's still him. Like, this is not, it's a game, but this is like, and so the movie's constantly yo-yoing us between
Oh.
these two ideas.
No, it's genius. And that, I mean, that's just a testament to the structure and the filmmaker because, like, the way that he was able to place those puzzle pieces so perfectly, timing wise,
Yeah.
is incredible to watch.
Yeah, it really is. And that bedroom scene to me, looking back on it, that feels like where this movie should have collapsed.
Mm,
Is once we see the kind of the payoff, as it were, right? A lot of filmmaking is kind of building to a crescendo. This movie starts at the crescendo and just kind of then slumps it down for a stretch of the movie. It feels like that's where we should be lost. But honestly, I think that hotel room becomes so fascinating. The
yeah.
dynamics are so the writing in this script is so crisp and engaging, and it has this kind of over talkative nature, right? That it feels like a lot of movies would struggle with. But this one, it's so lyrical, and the vibrance is great, and this movie just has fucking incredible music. Like you really
Yeah.
see them pulling all the levers, like the wizard behind the curtain. And you're just like, they are getting every fucking ounce
They
of my
locked in.
attention and love
Yes.
in this scene that should not mean a lot to me because we know where it goes.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I think like I don't know. I think things really started to shift for me too when I saw her in that car with that Mia Wallace wig. Because I was immediately like,
That's right.
once I saw that hair, I was like, something's wrong with her.
Yeah,
I
this
was like,
is.
she can't be normal. Like, she's so weird.
Yeah.
And
Well, I
I
was
think
like, did
like
they just come from like a rave and he
I know
doesn't look the type? Like, what are they
I
doing?
know literally I was so confused. I will say I swear to God, like I know it in my heart that JT Molnar, the director, saw Willa Fitzgerald in the Scream episode, the Scream MTV Halloween episode where she dresses like Mia Wallace and was like, that's what
That's
the
the
look of
jam.
me.
That's the jam. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean,
But
it's a good
but because
choice.
she is so strange. I mean,
You know
she's
what's
literally
crazy though,
changed
now that you mention it? The wig, I don't even think I noticed it the first time watching it.
the wig
And
the
this could
wig
be
like
what you're
changed
saying. This could be men
everything.
wanting that like indie movie pixie dream girl.
That's
Because I just
that's
watched it and I was like, it didn't dawn on me that she's not blonde anymore. I just was watching the movie and I was like, yeah, maybe guys will do anything for sex, right? Like, all right, like would I stay or would I go? It didn't even dawn on me that she had
yeah.
changed her hair until
No,
the second
the
viewing.
second I saw that hair, I said something is up with her.
Yeah.
Something is weird. Because like, listen, there's a very specific stereotype in like, especially in the film community and in like arts communities of like this manic pixie dream girl, like with the front bangs and the red hair and the
Mm-hmm.
bob. And like it's one that you will see in especially like in like Gen Z like corners. And like they're always a little, those girls are always a little weird. I support them for it, but it's always like a like they're never gonna be. nice to you. And
Yeah.
so it's like a really fascinating thing to look at, like how he changes this manic pixie dream girl stereotype of like the dream girl to the nightmare. I thought it was genius.
Yeah, it really is. There's a really funny girl on TikTok who does that, like the indie movie girl character at the
Yes,
record store. And
literally.
it fucking cracks me up because it's usually men writing these like versions of women. They're trying to like relitigate an argument. They've
Yeah.
got their heart broken a while ago. It's so fucking funny. And yeah, it is this because it is, you start watching it and this is what I was telling my wife too, is like there is a fear in this movie because I love the inversion of this too as she becomes the nightmare, which is my wife's like looking at me mad, right? And she's like, it is scary for women and violence, and it is scary to go. And I was like, well, fucking hold on, I'm sitting here with you, like what the fuck? Like she was legitimately riled up and angry because she's like, I remember that lived experience.
Hmm.
And okay, we might as well just do this now. I was really, really interested to talk to you about this. There is kind of an unusual undercurrent in this movie that I kind of noticed today where it has this like don't believe all women element, right? And like punishing the woman cop at the end because she did believe the
Yeah.
woman. There's just like a weird element to that. And I don't know if that's meant to be the thing or it's just a byproduct of this kind of monstrous character.
Hmm.
But it had this weird, she went into the room with him and I was like, yeah, that's what, young guys say on TikTok is it's scary for them because anyone can accuse them of whatever. And I was like, yeah, that's kind of a weird like flavor this movie left in my mouth today that I didn't really take from the first viewing.
Yeah, I do think like the feminist message of this film is, or like looking at gender in this film is really interesting. And I feel like it's one of those things where I honestly don't know what he meant with all of it.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think like if we look at it as like the roles being reversed,
Yeah.
I think then it sort of provides a message that's like more easy to understand. And then you
Oh,
see
okay.
sort of like this character of like if Kyle is the woman, right?
Right.
He's able to fight back. And it's sort of like this idea of like just don't fuck with people. Like she should not have fucked with him. But at the same time, it's also one of those things where like I think it is a very real reality for everyone, but
Mm-hmm.
especially for women and queer people that like you could get murdered by like a sexual partner and you can
Yeah.
get like horribly assaulted or like a lot of violence against you. And it's obviously something that is talked about a lot, but I don't think a lot of men, especially straight men, really are able to internalize that feeling and really able to understand just how scary it is and how common it is. So I
Yeah.
think like movies like this sort of feel very vindicating, at least for me, because I'm like, yeah, like it sort of gives like a promising young woman effect where I'm like, yeah, you know what? Maybe we should start scaring men a little bit. Like,
it
well,
it
because some
is
of
it
them
is
like
true. Yeah.
they like they give their address to strangers and they give their personal information to strangers and it's like you should learn that this is dangerous. Like men don't even
Yeah.
have to think about that a lot of the times.
Well, no, it's just the reality of my wife was like, "Yeah, parking garages are scary," and I was like, "Why?"
Yeah,
And
no,
she's like,
exactly.
"Well, yeah, you're like over 6 feet tall and almost 300 pounds. No one's gonna pick you up and put you in a car." And I was like, "Oh yeah, that's
2024,
a
men need to start getting
yeah."
scared. Come
It's just
on.
it's just a thing. I was like, "Yeah, that's true. I never am worried about being abducted anywhere."
I worry about that every day.
Yeah,
Like
well,
I
that's
have
what she
to
says.
Uber
She's
so
like,
many
she
places
has
I could walk to
strategies
the
for
death.
like leaving work. She leaves work after dark. And she doesn't work in like a scary place, but she has a
Yeah,
strategy. And
but still,
when
yeah.
she's leaving the grocery store after day, she's like, her mind is thinking about those things while I'm thinking about whatever. You know what I mean?
Video
My
games.
fantasy football team. Like
Yeah, literally.
it's things that just don't cross your mind. And I think there is something to, and again, I don't think the movie meant to have that kind of
I don't either.
dismissive undertone. I think your interpretation of just flipping their traditional roles
Mhm.
is the whole point of the movie, right? Is to get us to be unexpecting. That
Yeah.
our expectations are against us, right? And there is something about putting audiences in a place where they have to understand a new fear or a fear that someone in their life goes through all the time that they just don't think about.
Yeah.
Because I was watching and I was like, yeah, all of me and my friends would go in that hotel room.
Yeah,
And then
and you
you're
would
like,
never
what would
think
be the
twice about
line
it.
where you'd leave? And I was like,
Yeah.
honestly, even probably after doing the drugs, and she goes so fucking cold. You're like, the mind is probably still like, all right, how am I going to pull this out? Instead of like, this is the 55th
Yes.
red flag, you should leave.
Yes, and that's another thing too, is he takes drugs from her, a total stranger, and does
Yeah.
not think that he's gonna get roofied.
Yeah,
Like,
how many times have people done that?
it's things like that where it's like I have to worry about getting roofied at a bar. Like I have to worry about
Yeah.
taking like drinks from bartenders even. Like women and queer people have to worry about that all the time. And so I think
Yeah.
it's like that's one of the reasons I love the film Jennifer's Body, which is also a Kyle Gallner classic, because it really does flip that script of like all of this violence that we have to experience on a day-to-day basis.
Mhm.
And then finally, I think when they see themselves in these roles that are getting obliterated by women and destroyed, like at least I hope would elicit some kind of empathy or understanding
Yeah.
of that
Well,
feeling.
especially in Jennifer's Body, it's kind of this beautiful. We start the movie and she's a two-dimensional character, right?
Hmm.
She's the popular mean slut, right?
Hmm.
As it were, right? You've seen that character in the movie 1,000 times. We immediately are told to not like her. That's not who she really is. That's the role that she has filled and she's playing it. And when she gets taken by those guys, you realize that she's just a virgin and a scared girl.
Yeah.
And then she comes back after being traumatized, and her own best friend's like, well, that's Jennifer. She's evil. She got what's coming to her. And it's this, the stereotypes created her into
Yes.
this. It made her a victim of the
They
monster.
turned her into a monster.
Yeah, and then everyone's like, well, now we can destroy her with no empathy because she's what we always thought she was. And there's something really wild about that kind of theory of, can you sink into? I think it's something too in like man culture, right? Where it's the number one, I think, valued asset, right, is strength. Financial strength, mental strength, physical strength. You see all these, like, I'm turning like middle age now, so I'm getting all these like, don't fucking quit, get up at 4 a.m. and work out. No one cares about your feel. Like this, like weird, like it's like, what am I in the fucking TikTok military? Like, why is my algorithm flooded with this? Where's all the funny shit? And it's just strength above all.
Oh God.
And when you see him in this vulnerable spot where she's running the show,
Yeah.
that entire scene, and you see him like even moments when she looks at him and she's like, "You're so handsome." That's probably the closest he is to being uncomfortable in that whole scene.
Yeah.
And it is just these like looking at these traditional movie roles and saying, "No, that's not the movie we're doing."
Yeah. I love it. And I think like we just need more of those. I think it's always effective, at least right
Yeah.
now, especially like in our climate. And I think Kyle Gallner should be cast in all of them.
My God, he's so fucking good.
If I
I've
had a
loved that
nickel
man for a long time.
yes.
This is probably, I think this might be the movie that really pushes it. I mean, he did Smile,
Mhm.
Dinner in America. So he's had some good ones lately. But
He's
I feel
done a
like this one is
lot.
going to be such a
I think
just tidal wave of admiration when it
his
comes out.
marketing campaign that he like personally did for this movie
Mhm.
was incredible to watch.
Yeah.
And I think hopefully that'll really help kind of put him more on the map.
Yeah, he just, I adore him so much. What did you make of the old hippies?
The old I love them. They were incredible.
Right? Because my wife was like, that's our dream life. And I was like, same. She's like, some guy just like, eating too much food and listening to Bigfoot podcast and then doing puzzles and just hanging out with plants everywhere. I was like, oh my God,
Where
that
do
is
you see
movie
yourself
us.
in 50 years
Yeah,
there?
I was like,
That's where I see
if
myself.
things go well for us, that's our Twilight.
And I loved seeing Ed Begley Jr. in this because right now he's like really popular on TikTok and
That's so weird.
he like sells this like I swear to God he sells this like wrinkle spray. I couldn't
Wrinkles.
I couldn't
Oh, well,
I,
based on
but
my
I swear to God,
algorithm,
it's
I'm
him.
sure I'll be getting a targeted ad before you
He
know it.
sells this like spray you put on clothes to get rid of wrinkles, but it's like
Oh, clothes. I thought you meant like old man wrinkles.
oh no.
Yeah. One time the pod got sponsored by Manscaped and they
No
sent
way.
us this thing. I can't remember what it was called. It was some kind of like cream for your balls. And it's like, it'll take the wrinkles out of your balls. And it's like, I wasn't even aware that was a cosmetic problem I had to think about.
It's
And I was
incredible.
like, why did you send that? Like,
Yeah, it's like,
it
what are
felt
they
very
trying to tell
personal and
you?
pointed. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. That's crazy.
Yeah. I really adored the old hippie couple. And
Yes.
again, I think they become this really fun kind of avatar for the audience of,
Mhm.
again, if this girl showed up at your door, you would do exactly what they do. You'd help them. You'd
Of course you
think,
would.
this poor
Yeah.
fucking girl, what's going on? Um, this is where they got me though, when they cast Barbara Hershey. Because I figured Ed Begley Jr., I was like, he's always like a nice, aloof goofball.
No, but
Barbara
Barbara
Hershey,
could
though, I
get
was like, she
nuts.
could be the one. She could
She
be the
is,
fucking.
she's so talented.
Yeah, she's great. And their house
She
is
could kill
very
people.
bizarre. We
Like,
are like, this could be a serial killer. I get
mhm.
that. And you're just, the way they're so easily brought in,
Yeah.
right? And even until, like, my wife still didn't believe it when she pulled the knife out of Ed Begley Jr.'s neck. It still took like a minute to process,
Yeah.
oh my God, she's the fucking one. She brains him with the phone and stabs him. There's something really interesting I wanted to ask you about, because she does this to every female character who witnesses her commit an act of violence,
Hmm.
which is, she says to Barbara Hershey in that moment, hey, what's the easiest way I can like incapacitate you, right? What would be the easiest use? She's like, believe it or not, I don't want to mess your day up any more than I already have.
I like that a lot.
Such a wild thing to say. But she
Yeah.
does it to the lady detective.
Hmm.
We don't know if she does it to the woman with the scrubs.
Hmm.
It seems like that's her trend.
But
So I
probably.
believe
Yeah.
she did let that lady live. Why do you think she shows small mercies to these women? Or do you think it's something more nefarious?
I think she didn't see the devil in them, right?
Yeah. Oh my God. I totally forgot about the seeing the devil. Because I wondered if this was a, you got to leave one alive to tell the tale.
That could
Or
also
if she
be it.
honestly was like, you're not the enemy that I'm destroying. That gets back to your demon point. That's a good
You
one.
know what? Like, I honestly feel like she too, like, she is such a strange character, like such an interesting character that I feel like but I also like really did believe that she was not like in her heart of hearts like necessarily vi like a violent, horrible person. I mean, obviously she did violent, horrible things, but
Yeah.
like I don't think she believed that, you know? I think she believed that she was a good person who was doing what she had to do. I don't think she was like kind of a Michael Myers type, like let me
Yeah.
kill everybody type of person. So I
Mhm.
think she didn't want to kill people unless she had to. Or
Yeah.
I guess was making a point about like in Kyle's sense. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, there's that weird line where she's like, I love that shot of her, like with her head just above the freezer line.
Yes.
And she's just like, for, that primal thing takes you over.
Mhm.
To paraphrase, right? It's written
Yeah.
way better than I'll say it. And she just, sometimes that primal urge, like it rolls over you.
Yeah.
And she's like, for a brief moment, I felt that about you when you had your hands around my throat. Did you feel that for me too? And there's this really elegant kind of just crystal clear laying out who this character is, that in that moment of weakness and violence towards herself, she found love
Hmm.
and wondered if he felt love hurting her, even though it was, a consensual game. There's
Yeah.
something about it that's just a really powerful moment. And it's hard because the movie just tells us she's such a fucking lunatic. You never know what is earnest. But in that
Yeah.
one line, I felt that was her
It feels
being
real.
earnest, right? That was
Yeah.
that was the most earnest she's been in the movie, until at the end when he's like, "Why do you do this?" And she's like, "Sometimes I just see demons." But I do feel like that moment was kind of earnest. She did kind of like him and
Yeah.
admired him, and it's just such a heartbreaking moment in the
Yeah.
middle of this like fucking really
I mean,
evil scenario.
it's like one of those movies where it's like, if she wasn't a killer, they'd probably be perfect together.
Yeah, like this might actually work out.
It, like like genuinely in the end you are kind of like they would make a cute couple, like they
Yeah.
could like they understand each other to a degree, and like the way that he is able to kind of, or the way that they're both kind of able to play this like cat and mouse game with each other, I feel like really shows how connected they really are. Like it is a really fucked up love story.
Yeah, I do. I mean, clearly he just never leaves that room, right? Like he
Mhm.
keeps staying despite all the fucking red flags. And it's like, dude, you're a married guy. Like there has
Yeah.
to be something on the line here. You have to know, even if you get laid, this is not something that stays in that like this is bad fucking
Yeah.
news. And
That's
he just
also why
he
like
keeps going.
throughout the movie, and then also like he could have just after the hotel, after Willow got away, he could have gone home. He did not have to keep going after her, but he did,
Well, why not
you
just
know?
go straight to the office and be like, "Hey, cops, there's a bunch of dead bodies here. A witness
Yeah.
that'll tell you it's the blonde girl. I'm drugged and I have EL slashed in my chest." He could have just gotten away with it.
I
There is
know.
this, and I don't think it's that he's a hero cop because he
No,
is driving
there's
down
no
the
such
road
thing.
on ketamine trying to fucking rip
Yes,
coke, right?
yes.
He is much more likely
Hmm.
to hurt and kill someone on the road than to stop this. So then it gets to this, is this just an injured ego thing? Right? That she was sitting on him and carved her name on him and disrespected him. And he would have to live with that. And he'd have to go home and show his wife the EL on his
That's so
chest
true. I didn't even think about
that he
that.
has to do this to save his ego and character. Because there's
Mm,
no fucking way this is the right move. He
no,
should not
it's
be
so
driving
dumb.
that fucking truck.
It's unbelievably stupid. And the
Yeah.
second that he starts doing that, I mean, the second I found out he was a cop, I was like, I no longer care about your safety. Anyways, if it was a gay cab, I do not care. But like,
What happened to the good cop characters of my childhood, like Carl Winslow on Family Matters? They weren't these coke snorting deviants that we have now in movies.
but honestly, like, listen, I lived in Boston for a couple years. That
Yeah,
is exactly what the Boston Police Department is like.
that's the
That
vibe.
that is the exact experience I have had with them is like insane violence and anger and like laughing at that violence and like making games out of it. Like that is so true to almost every experience I have had with a police officer. And it's like it was so vindicating to see that in his character because it's one of those things where you're like any sane person would just leave, like would just not
Fucking
go after
leave.
her.
Yeah,
And so
just fucking leave, dude.
he clearly like did get something out of it, you know?
Yeah.
Like maybe he also felt that animalistic rage.
Well, I
Yeah.
think to that point too, the movie's reinforcing that. You
Hmm.
have your shotgun. She's chained up in the locker. Why does he go back in the room? Stand as far away as you can. Stand at the front door, right? Just do like a perimeter
Yeah.
search. Don't get near her till your friends show up.
Hmm.
But he wants to look her in the eyes, and he's just like,
Yeah.
you know, gotcha, you fucking cunt.
Hmm.
And she's like, no, it's more than checkmate. She's like, there is no more than checkmate, you fucking Philistine. And it's this, he just wants her to know that he
That he
fucking
bested
beat
her.
her, that
Yeah.
he caught the electric lady, that he is better than her. And again, it gets him fucking killed.
Hmm.
It gets it. Like, even when he's bear maced, run away. Don't
I
fucking run
know.
in to try to hurt her again. Run away. It's kind of, and I wouldn't even say it's horror movie character acting stupid. It's
It's almost
a
like a
man
male
with hurt
ego
pride.
thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
I didn't
Absolutely. I
even
mean,
think
that's
about that, but that's
100%
such a
what it
good
is.
point.
Yeah, because there's no fucking explanation for his behavior in that movie
Yeah.
except for that to me.
And that is also another thing where it's like any woman or like queer person or person in a marginalized group who has experienced like, you know, like gender-based violence or anything similar, like would have been out that door. They would not have followed her because they would have known that it was too dangerous. It's like only straight white men who care about their pride that much.
And to your point, if the movie's casting him as this kind of faux proxy for a final girl,
Hmm.
it's him revolting against that.
Yeah.
You know, just the entire idea of a final girl.
Hmm.
And that's what leads to his demise. Because he will not make a fucking smart, rational choice, right? He has to defeat her.
Yeah.
Again, I thought I mean, there's just so many fucking, again, the word I kept coming back to, I was like, this movie is just lyrical,
Yeah.
right? It just plays like a great fucking album. Like the ebbs and flows, the crescendo. Again, the music in this is fucking
Insane.
incredible. So fucking good. but the whole movie has that kind of tune to it, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Um, Again, I don't know if the ending is all the way my favorite. I didn't like the lady cop coming in.
Yeah.
And again, it plays on this. They also like the audience. Everyone is kind of the audience. We immediately see a scene and know what's happening, right? And the old grizzled cop whose buddy's on the floor, right, might want to cover for him or have answers for that. And he's just, we don't even know that she's the victim.
Mm-hmm.
We're like, yeah, he's right. And then she's like, just because I have a vagina doesn't mean you get to take, not listen to what I say. He's like, this ain't got shit to do with your vagina.
Yeah. That
And
was
it's like,
so
I think they're
funny.
both like not being great cops right now.
Yeah, no,
And again,
and that's another thing that I love about this
the
movie.
movie is like telling us that, because at the end he's like, you dumb bitch, I should let her shoot you, to his fucking partner, who really feels like she was well intentioned. She just didn't want this woman who was shot to die. It is a fucking crazy scenario to walk in on, but it feels like the movie is kind of specifically cruel to her.
Yes.
And again, maybe because it's her cop partner doing it, they're not trying to make it as kind of gross as it seemed to me.
Yeah, I mean,
And the movie does let her escape.
hmm
So I don't know. What did you make of that?
I don't know. See, this is another thing which just felt really hard to know what it was trying to say
Yeah,
here.
right.
But I think I don't know. For one thing, I do wonder if there is this thread of ACAB, cops do not make smart decisions and make a lot
Yeah.
of split second decisions. And to be fair, I would have done probably all would have done the exact same thing that she had done in that
Mm-hmm.
scenario of helping Willa Fitzgerald get out of that freezer and trying to
Right. That is the
like
kind of societal thing we'd see
of
and be like,
course we
we
would do
have to
that.
help her. It's just when she says the line about, you always judge me because I have a vagina, it feels like the movie's hanging a lantern on it
Yeah.
and is like, hey, look at this. And it's kind of trying to tell us that the old cop was right.
hmm
Even if there's no fucking universe where he could have known what was happening. And he does
That's
go
where
along with it. So he's not
yeah.
that fucking, insightful. It just felt mean. Like it felt mean
It
spirited.
did.
And
It
again,
was,
with
and it
Willa
also
kind of eating every fucking scene, it felt weird to just be so fucking rude to the woman
especially
cop.
especially to this idea that sexism exists.
Yeah.
I don't know. I would I wish I could talk to the director and just pick his brain because it's such an interesting scene and I really have no idea what he meant with it. I don't know.
Yeah, and it could just be, again, it's everything in this movie is people presenting one face to the world
hmm
and being something different.
Yeah.
And so even in that scene, those cops are just kind of classic cop tropes, right? The hard woman who's tired of the fucking male patriarchy of the cops, and
Yeah.
the old grizzled cop who, this ain't my first jar of pickles or whatever he says. And it's like these tropes colliding. And again, maybe it's just Willa's character, the Electric Lady. She's just there to constantly prey upon the weaknesses that already exist.
That's so
So
true.
every stereotype that these people are kind of forced to grapple with, she uses as the fucking back door to get in
Yeah.
and take advantage of people. It might just be that simple, but it was just something I felt watching it the second time. I was like, that came up 2 or 3 times for me,
Yeah.
which makes it feel not, and especially in such a well-crafted film, it feels bizarre that this could accidentally be something I picked up on,
Yeah, definitely.
but I don't know.
No, I don't
Uh,
know. That definitely was one of the parts of the movie where I just was sort of left I don't know what the answer is.
yeah,
I feel like it's one of those things where we can only ask the filmmaker because it
yeah,
really depends on his own views, you know? I don't know.
yeah. It's interesting. I think the movie, if I'm honest, I feel like the movie kind of ends for me at that point.
Yeah.
It's not wildly compelling at the end, right? She kind of rides with the cops. She shoots Barbara Hershey. She gives us a little bit about the Electric Lady character. She sees demons and her eyes go wide and she shoots the man cop. She tries to take advantage of this other lady who's just like a fucking gun owning fucking cowboy hat lady who fucking shoots her, right? And then just calls him like, I had no choice. She had a gun on me. And we do watch Ella or Willa. I kept seeing Ella.
Mhm.
Willa. Just staring at the camera, slowly dying, and giving us a chance to kind of unpack the entire world we just saw and the legacy and life of this monster. In this kind of just beautiful way with, again, just perfect needle drop. It fades to black and white. Like, now all of the mystery's gone. We know exactly how it ends. So that last shot is beautiful. I kind of love this as a new thing in movies, which is just letting actors act at the end of the movie. It reminded me very much of Pearl.
Pearl, definitely.
And yeah, that was kind of beautiful, but it felt like post Freezer, we just have to do something.
Yeah, and it also felt like I don't know if it needed to even explain itself that much.
Yeah.
But I do love that ending sequence. I love her killing Barbara, and I love the
see, that fucking made me so mad. You knew it was coming.
Yeah.
But I was just like, God, no, she got out.
I know. I was like, girl, do not go into that car. Like, do not get up there. Ugh.
Yeah.
But
well, maybe to your point, like, she ran to the cops for help and got fucking wasted. Maybe I'm just reading into everything in this movie in a way.
See, again, like, people in marginalized communities know not to do that. I'm just saying.
It's all right there.
And listen, the indigenous woman at the end did not play around. She shot that girl immediately.
Yeah. Maybe I knew I was talking to you, and my brain is seeing things from a younger perspective.
I don't know. Like, I know me personally, when I see a cop car, no matter what, I'm running the other way. Like, that's just because of my own personal experiences. But
that's
like,
the old stoner in me too. Is just like, hey man, don't look at me. I won't look at you, dude.
So exactly, it's like, I'm not doing it. But like,
I'll be back here behind the dumpster. Don't mind me. Yeah, to sum it up, this movie. And again, I think this year has kind of been exceptional for these kind of wild horror journeys, right? Nice. Even something that I didn't really all the way link in with, like Longlegs, right? Mm-hmm. There is a fucking crackling dark energy in that movie. Like, it feels like more than watching a movie. The substance feels like more than watching a movie.
So good.
This one also, and to get even, those are probably the three this year. First Omen, close. Like, there's a lot of great horror movies, but like those three in particular, even Cuckoo, right? So three or four of these movies where it's just, it feels like more than just a movie watching experience. It feels,
you're really immersed.
I don't want to sound like an absolute douche, but it sounds like a full, like, religious artistic experience.
Definitely.
There's no way to say that sentence without sounding like a pretentious douche, but it did. Like, I felt moved in ways that I don't during, a normal movie. Like Late Night with the Devil, amazing fucking movie. That felt like watching a movie. These have that extra, there's something right now in the horror community where there's just so much fucking power pouring through that screen. And it's just inspiring and devastating. And I don't even know. It's just, what a time to be a horror fan.
Yes, absolutely. I feel like, especially with those three films that you named, I think there's like, this is going to make me sound so crazy, but I feel like there definitely is something like subliminal within those films and within the images that they're showing you that is like, it is genuinely like change, like even if it's not part of the story, like it just changes the overall way that you're watching the film. And I think
there's something else there. Like, our parents used to be afraid of like Friday the 13th.
Yes.
And you're like, come on. These movies though feel like, I don't want to say they feel dangerous, but in a way there's like what if like a demon is in me now? Like, something's happening
literally
to me.
Though. It's like I feel like one of the reasons people enjoyed Longlegs so much is because it does feel like one of those movies where like that would be in a movie of like someone who gets possessed from watching a movie. You know what I mean? Like, I think those definitely have that vibe, and I don't know how they're able to accomplish it, but it's fascinating.
It's a miracle, right? Like, when you watch as many movies as probably me, you, most of us that love movies, and especially those of us that want to make movies, you're always watching and you're like, I'll learn something or something will unlock. And at a certain point, movies like this, you just have to fucking sit back and you're like, there is just a magic
Yeah.
sometime when all the
Something came
elements
together.
align just right.
Yeah.
And it's something you can't teach. It's something you can't replicate easily. It's some movies just come together in a way that's so fucking powerful. And that's how I felt watching this movie, right? And again, it used to be so rare. I was like, Everything Ever All at Once, Black Swan. Like, there have been
Yeah.
a couple movies in theaters where I was like, holy fucking shit. This feels like more.
Hmm.
This year, there's been like 4 or fucking 5 of
Yeah.
them. And it's insane. And I don't know what kind of fortunes we have, or maybe people are just constantly getting better. We have so much more access to information and tools and voices now
Hmm.
that maybe this is just the world will thankfully not the world en masse. The world en masse has some problems that are fucking scary right now. But you know, as a cinephile, it's just exorbitant, right? It is this fucking decadent feast
Yeah.
that we are getting to live through.
No, it's incredible. I don't know. I really would love to talk to these filmmakers or have them do like a workshop on it because
Yeah.
you wonder what it is that
I
they're
wonder
putting
if they
in,
could even tell you.
pinpoint it, if they even know.
Yeah, like did the moment he had this idea, JT Molnar, like he just felt the lightning strike? Did he finish the first cut of it and he's like he just knew? Or was it just one of those like you're just doing the work and then at the end, through 1,000 right choices, you're like, holy fuck,
Yeah.
what have I done? Like, look at this fucking like it must be because I think filmmakers too, you go through this. The idea phase is incredible. And then you kind of through rewrites, you're like, ugh, like you're a little whipped. Then you get excited to shoot. And then you get beat down through set. And then you're excited to edit. And then editing fucking kills you. And at the end, you never, it's such a fucking up and down journey.
Yeah.
And you never really know until an audience sees it, right? Because even the stuff we make, you get to that point where you're like, I'm just sick of seeing this. I'm
For
sick
real.
of talking about it. I don't want to do notes on it anymore. I don't
I
fucking
want
care.
it to be done.
Yeah, I just want it out of my life, right? Like I want to be on to the next thing. And then you see it with an audience and you get to see it with fresh eyes. And I think we all just hope that we have, a fucking percent of
Yeah,
the kind of power this movie has.
definitely. Even like, yeah, I think like this movie did not hit for like some of the friends I watched it with, and they still recognize that, like,
Yeah.
or Longlegs, for example, like Longlegs for me personally just wasn't for me, but it
Yeah.
did still feel like I was watching like a Bible story or something. Like it did just
Yeah.
feel like this really divine experience.
Yes, it still was engaging.
Yeah, in a way
Even
that
as I was like,
can't
what?
even pinpoint as to what it is,
Yeah. Yeah. It's a wonderful time to be alive. That's it. That's it for Strange Darling. Thank you, Corey, as always. It's so fun to talk movies with you. We're always glad you make the time in your busy schedule. Thank you
Oh my
very
God,
much.
I'm always so glad to be here. Thank you.
Of course. Would you like to tell everyone where to find your movie one more time?
Yes, Welcome Week, a college horror anthology, is available on iTunes, Prime, Google Play, and I think some other places. It should be available in most English-speaking countries.
Nice.
Yeah, YouTube, Amazon, Apple TV, and Google Play and Prime.
Nice. Well, I can't wait to watch it. I hope you guys will watch it too. The offer still stands if you ever want to come and talk about it or
Thank
any
you. That would be
movie.
awesome.
I keep telling all the guests, reach out to me because I disappear into my work and I forget. But you are welcome anytime for any movie. It's been amazing.
I appreciate that so much. Thank you.
All right, everyone, you know the deal. 31 days, 31 pods in a row. So I'll see you tomorrow for another exciting horror movie episode.